Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ESG Flight Plan event in Embraer's second quarter 2021 financial results. Thank you for standing by. I'm Felipe Calçada, and I'll be your host for today. At this time, all participants will watch our financial results presentation. Right after, we will conduct a question and answer session, and instructions to participate will be given at that time. If you should require any assistance during the event, you can do so using the chat box on the platform. As a reminder, this presentation is being recorded and webcasted at Reuters platform. Before we begin, just a legal statement. This conference call includes forward-looking statements or statements about events or circumstances which have not occurred. Embraer has based these forward-looking statements largely on its current expectations and projections about future events and financial trends affecting the business and its future financial performance. These forward-looking statements are subject to risks, uncertainties, and assumptions, including, among other things, general economic, political, and business conditions in Brazil and in other markets where the company is present. The words believes, may, will, estimates, continues, anticipates, intends, expects, and similar words are intended to identify those forward-looking statements. Embraer undertakes no obligations to update publicly or revise any forward-looking statement because of new information, future events, or other factors. In light of these risks and uncertainties, the forward-looking events and circumstances discussed on this conference call might not occur, and the company's actual results could differ substantially from those anticipated in the forward-looking statements. Participants on today's conference are Francisco Gomes Neto, President and CEO, Antônio Carlos Garcia, Chief Financial Officer and Procurement, and Eduardo Couto, Director of Investor Relations. And now, I would like to turn the conference over to Francisco Gomes Neto. Please go ahead, Francisco.
Thank you, Felipe. Good morning to all, and thank you for joining our call today. I hope that all of you are well and safe, and thank you for your interest in our company. As you will see in Antonio's presentation, our results for the quarter were strong. The Q2 results are a clear example that our strategic planning has been well executed with the right focus and discipline, showing significant improvement in our financial performance. Before we go into more details regarding the Q2 results, I'd like to highlight the good momentum we are going in the different business segments. In commercial aviation, we announced a new firm order for third E195-E2 jets from the Canadian Porter Airlines, with purchase rights for 50 more aircraft. We also announced new firm orders for 34 E175 jets to Horizon Air and SkyWest to be operated for Alaska Airlines and Delta Airlines. These new orders and other active campaigns reiterate the continuous interest in the E-Jet family as the best option in the regional aviation market. In executive aviation, we keep up the momentum with the record sales in the quarter. We maintained our price discipline strategy and had a strong backlog growth with book-to-bill in excess of 2-to-1 for this business. In defense and security, we delivered 7 Super Tucano aircraft in the first half of the year. Also, we had strong performance in our cybersecurity and systems integration companies, with double-digit revenue growth in the first half of this year compared to the first half of last year. Further, In the second quarter, the KC-390 Millennium reached an important milestone by successfully performing unpaved runway tests. Although we are currently in negotiations with the Brazilian Air Force on the KC-390 Millennium contract, we continue to be focused on the new export sales campaigns for this aircraft as well as the Super Tucano. In services and support, we are pleased with the strong second quarter results, with better revenues and higher margins, as traffic recovery and strong maintenance activity drove 55% revenue growth in the second quarter. It is exciting to see the continued positive sales activity in services, with deals signed with several important customers across all markets and at OGMA, driving backlog expansion for this segment during the period. This was further highlighted by the contract we signed with Porter Airlines for a 20-year total support program. With respect to innovation, we continue to make progress on partnerships in the urban air mobility ecosystem through our subsidiary EVE, in a segment with strong growth potential in the years to come. In addition, our services collaborative platform Beacon signed agreements with key customers such as Republic for its maintenance applications. Finally, on the operations front, we continue to see great improvements. We expect a 16% increase in inventory turns compared to 2020, and a 20% reduction in production cycle time of our aircraft this year, positively impacting working capital and production costs. I will now hand it over to Antonio Garcia, our CFO, to give further details on the financial results, and I will return in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco, and good morning, everyone. I will start with our backlog for the quarter. On slide 7, the graph shows we ended the second quarter at 59 billion, up 1.7 billion or 12% from the prior quarter. This represents a return to the same 15.9 billion we were at in 2020, before the pandemic began. In our commercial aviation business, we closed 48 aircraft sales in the quarter, spread across several different airlines. In executive aviation, we had a record second quarter sales, a solid backlog as demand for light and larger business jets continued to grow. Backlog in service and support and defense and security also grew from the prior quarter's level. In summary, it was the best sales quarter since mid-2019. This gives us confidence in our plans for future revenue growth and improvements. Moving to slide 8, you can see the continuous improvement in aircraft deliveries compared last year in both commercial aviation and executive aviation. In commercial aviation, we delivered 14 aircrafts in the quarter. This represents a 56% increase compared to the prior quarter and 250% increase compared to the second quarter in 2020. Year-to-date deliveries, we were at 23, almost 2.5 times higher than the same period in the prior year. Of these 23 deliveries, 14 were E2s, compared to 4 E2s in the same period last year. Sales continues to perform very well for the E2 as the most efficient right-side single-aisle aircraft for the world post-pandemic. In executive aviation, we delivered 12 jets, light jets, and 8 larger jets, for a total of 20 aircrafts in the second quarter. This represents 54% increase compared to both first quarter 2021 and the second quarter of the prior year. Year to date, executive aviation delivered 33 aircraft, a 50% increase compared to the first half of 2020. As noted in the guidance 2021 we published this morning, we expect deliveries of commercial jets to reach between 45 to 50 aircrafts and executive jets to reach between 90 to 95 aircrafts. On slide 9, we show Embraer's net revenue. Embraer had a solid revenue growth in the quarter as all 4 business units rebound strongly from the pandemic. Our top line more than doubled compared to the second quarter of last year. Growth came primarily from higher deliveries in commercial aviation, although all our segments showed much improved growth during the quarter. Year-to-date net revenue was just under $2 billion, as $767 million, or 65% increase over 2020. Net revenue breakdown by business show Embraer diversification, with commercial aviation representing 34% of the total revenues, service and support 28%, executive aviation 22%, and defense 16%. It's important to highlight the strong recovery in commercial aviation, as this business was severely impacted by the pandemic last year. Slide 10, SG&A expenses reduction continues to trend very favorably over the last 6 quarters. We remain highly focused on SG&A efficiencies that are being implemented since the company's restructuring last year. Although the second quarter had a slight increase in G&A, this was primarily driven by increase in provision for profit sharing and performance-based incentives program due to better expected results for the company in 2021 as compared to 2020. Combined with the consolidation of expenses from Tempest, our new cybersecurity company acquired in the end of 2020. Selling expenses remains at historical low levels. Compared to the prior quarters, selling expenses increased 4%, while net revenue increased over 40% sequentially. As percentage of net revenue, selling expenses was 4.2% in the second quarter, compared to 5.7% in the first quarter. We achieved these results by leveraging our sales activity as volume increase, combined with a more cost efficiency digital sales effort. Slide 11 shows our adjusted EBITDA and adjusted EBITDA. We are very encouraged by the strong margin performance across all business segments in the second quarter. Our adjusted EBIT margin was 9.3%, up 13 percentage points over the first quarter. Our adjusted EBITDA margin was in double digits at 14%, or up over 16 percentage points from the first quarter. Both of these profitability metrics have recovered to the levels not seen before 2020. For the first half of 2021, our adjusted EBIT margin was 3.9%, and our adjusted EBITDA margin was 9.2%, both well above prior year's level. These improvements come from several factors, including higher deliveries, resulting in higher revenue, better gross margin on improved pricing, mix, production efficiency, fixed cost leverage on higher volumes, and favorable tax obligation reversal of this quarter, of approximately 25 million. All of our segments have much better performance in the second quarter. Adjusted EBIT margin by segment in the second quarter were as follows. Commercial aviation was at 1.7% negative, which, although negative, shows a great improvement from last year. Executive aviation was at positive 8%, with a strong price discipline and consistent profitability. Defense and security was at positive 25%, led by Super Tucano deliveries along with positive adjustments on certain defense contracts. And service and support was at 19% as a strong contribution from spare parts programs. Slide 12 shows our adjusted net income. It was positive 44 million, or 24 cents per ADS in the second quarter. This represents the first net profit on a quarterly basis since 2018. The recovery in adjusted net income is primarily driven by improved operating margins. Reductions in financial leverage also contribute to improved profitability, and any future debt reduction would naturally have an additional positive impact on earnings. Moving to slide 13, I'd like to begin with free cash flow. Free cash flow in the second quarter was positive 45 million, 272 million higher than first quarter, and 517 million higher than the same period of last year. This is a remarkable achievement. Although year-to-date the cash flow is negative 181 million, this is compared with a free cash flow burden of around 1 billion of the first half of 2020. We expect positive free cash flow from the second half of the year, of the 2021, as indicated in this morning guidance. Now to investments. Our total investment were 50 million in the second quarter and 89 million year-to-date, both of which are in line with last year levels. This is important because it shows we continue to invest in our future. We have been very judicious in balancing the need to invest in our future with the need to preserve cash. Slide 14 shows our cash and liquidity position. We ended the quarter with 2.49 billion cash and cash equivalents, a slight increase from the end of the first quarter. Our debt balance was at 4.3 billion, a slight decrease from 3 months ago. Our average debt maturity remains at 4 years. We expect to continue to generate cash in the second half of 2021, and beyond so, our leverage will naturally decrease. This will correspondingly reduce our net interest and expenses and have an additional positive impact on net income. Finally, moving to slide 16, Embraer has published 2021 financial deliveries guidance for the first time since the start of the pandemic. Despite risks of the economy recovery, vaccination rates around the world, and with a solid first half and good visibility for the remainder of the year, we decided to share our targets for 2021. We expect to deliver between 54 to 50 commercial jets, just to correct, 45 to 50 commercial aircrafts in 2021, and 90 to 95 executive jets in the year. We have a good confidence in those figures as our skyline are red-filled for both segments. combined with the growth in defense and security, and continued the recovery in the service and support traffic recover globally, we expect consolidated revenues to be between $4 to $4.5 billion this year, representing a low double-digit growth at the midpoint compared to the last year. Adjusted EBIT margin should be in the range of 3 to 4%, and adjusted EBITDA for 2021 should be between 8.5 to 9.5%. Embraer has had, in the first half of 2020, margin in these ranges, as we expect these good margins to repeat in the second half of the year. It's important to mention that those margins includes costs related to the reintegration of commercial aviation, as well as expenses related to the arbitration process. Finally, our free cash flow guidance is a range from free cash flow usage of $150 million to a break-even for 2021. We had $181 million of free cash flow usage in the first half of the year, so we are anticipating Embraer to generate up to $180 million cash in the second half of 2021 without any cash inflows from M&A projects. With that, I conclude my presentation and hand it back over to Francisco for his final remarks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Antonio. The second quarter results and the guidance for the year reinforce our confidence in our strategy. And this confidence motivates us to accelerate the performance improvements and the delivery of our long-term strategic plan with focus and discipline. As I have mentioned in the past, this year is one of recovery. And next year and beyond, we plan to capture Embraer's full potential to grow with profitability. Looking ahead, we foresee in the medium term the potential to double the size of the company. And that doesn't include new strategic projects. We are going to be bigger and stronger, focusing not only on the top line, but also much higher profitability. We are already showing some positive results of the hard work our united and motivated teams of employees have done over the past several months, with expectation for positive operating profit this year and much better free cash flow performance, with a clear potential to break even for the year. This will be supplemented by partnerships and new programs to drive even higher growth opportunities. We are also advancing on our ESG journey. And right after the Q&A session, we will share with you our new ESG commitments. I invite everyone, therefore, to remain online for this ESG event, which will start just after the results Q&A. Also, we are looking forward to a new chapter of Embraer with our extraordinary shareholder meeting scheduled for next Monday. We expect our shareholders to approve the election of 2 international board members with extensive global aerospace industry experience, following constructive feedback from analysts and shareholders to improve our corporate governance. These candidates have deep technical knowledge, strategic profiles, and an innovative thought process. Finally, I will close today by thanking everyone for this strong quarter. It all starts with our people and their focus and passion on executing our strategic planning. As I mentioned to you in the last earnings call, we are a different company today. We are in a process of transformation, and we are moving fast. Thank you for your interest and confidence in our company. Over to you, Felipe.
Thank you very much, Francisco. And before we continue, we'd like to show you a video. Check this out.
The world is a different place to a year ago. Industries have changed, aviation perhaps more than any other. Embraer has changed too. We're leaner, more agile, and fit for growth. We're already on a path that will make us bigger and stronger. And with an all-new product portfolio that are the most efficient and technologically advanced in their class, all built with the passion to improve sustainability, economics, cost efficiencies, and driving new innovations. We're better adapted to the challenges and opportunities of now. Like our customers, we're always looking above and beyond what was previously thought possible. That's why the world looks to Embraer. We're right for the world ahead. Right now. Embraer. Challenge, create, outperform.
And now let's move on to our questions and answer session. We are preparing the set here, and remember that questions can only be sent through the Reuters platform. Eduardo Couto will be our moderator, and he already has some questions with him. Eduardo, over to you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Felipe. We start now the Q&A. So let me see the questions that we have. A first question we have is, can you give an update on the SPAC negotiations with Eve? I don't know, Francisco or Antonio, who wants to take that?
Yes, thank you, Edu. Thanks for the question. I mean, at this point of time, we can say that the negotiation is moving very well, I would say. We are very optimistic with this process.
Okay. Moving on the questions, second question we have, what work has Embraer been doing to develop electric aircraft and making this product more viable for customers?
Well, thank you. Also a good question. Well, we had our first technical flight recently with the Ipanema full electric, and we hope to present this aircraft to the public soon, and continue to invest in this electrification field as one of the innovation fronts that we have. I mean, to be in line with the ESG activities that we are moving fast in Embraer.
Great. Third question we have from investors is from Vitor Misuzaki from Bradesco. He said defense showed a material gross margin expansion in the second quarter. Can you give her more details about that, Antonio?
Vitor, thanks for the question. We had in the second quarter two main effects on the defense side. First one was the Super Tucano delivery that we were not able to deliver in Q1, that flows to the Q2 figures. In addition to it, we have the adjustment in the defense contract we have in the local currency in Brazil. I would say both effects, higher deliveries in Super Tucano and the adjustment in the contracts, lead us to this 25% margin in Q2.
Okay, very good. Next question comes from UBS. Could you comment on the 25 million reversal mentioned in the press release? Also, what was the positive cost-based revision related on the results?
So thanks for the question. First point, we built up a provision in 2018 for the Brazilian guys here, desoneração de folha, that we have a claim, been discussed since 2018, and we were able to gain this claim in second quarter. That's why we reversed this tax position. That was also already adjusted in 2018. That's why we also consider in our results. The second question was in regards to the contracts. We have an adjustment here around $10 million in the second quarter. That were both effects. It's important also to mention that even that we have this tax reversal, 25 million, let's put first quarter and the second quarter. We do have other types of costs that we are not adjusting. That's also not, I would say, for example, reintegration of commercial aviation and arbitration costs, which is more or less net this 25 million. I would say the numbers we are seeing right now, I would say combined Q1 and Q2 is really, for me, describe the real performance of the company.
Okay. We have several questions about Eve. I will try to summarize them. So basically, any general updates on your eVTOL initiatives would be very helpful, particularly on negotiations with Zenite. We already talked a little bit, but maybe an update of the eVTOL. Francisco or Antonio?
Yeah, well, as I said, we are very excited with this initiative, with this product. I mean, we had the first flight with the prototype scale 1 to 3, a successful test, by the way. Now we are preparing the next test with the prototype scale 1 to 1, and technically it's moving very well. We are planning the certification by 2025 and entering service in 2026. And about the negotiation with Zenite, I mentioned already, that's moving very well.
Okay, very good. Now moving to business jets, we have a question from Credit Suisse. Business jet has been very strong, and on the first quarter results, you mentioned half of the deliveries were for first-time buyers. In the second quarter, how much were first-time buyers? Maybe we can give an overview of the business jet market.
I can do it.
Well.
I would say today in our backlog, the portion of first-time buyers, I would say, is a third, something like 30%. In our backlog and deliveries for the whole year, we are talking about 30% first-time buyers. And we are going with the market, if you see the industry, book to bill between 1 to 5 to 2 to 1, 1 to 5 to 1, and 2 to 1 to 2. And we are, I would say, a little bit above that, and it's doing pretty well, but for sure, the first buy is pushing also the market, especially in the light jets category.
Now there is a question on commercial from Credit Suisse. Your guidance for commercial deliveries of 45 to 50 seems low, given you have already delivered 23 jets. Are there any supply chain issues that could prevent you from being above that range? Also, they are asking, what do you see in terms of deliveries for 2022? Any color on that?
Say, let's take into account that commercial aviation is still suffering for the pandemic. Huh? What we are giving as a guidance to deliver this year is a little bit higher than last year. Last year we delivered 44, and for sure we are selling more, but it's going to impact more 2022. And the fact that we deliver already 23 aircraft is because it's well divided throughout the year. That's why the 47, I would say between 45 to 50 is the number we are having. And we do see, I would say, around 30% for next year, between 65 to 70 aircraft. But has to be confirmed, but it's more or less the number we are seeing. It's important to mention, we do see commercial aviation coming back to historical levels at Embraer from 2023 onwards. We are selling more, but the sales contract we are closing right now is going to fulfill the skyline starting 2022 and 2021 is more or less the same level from 2020.
If you allow me, Antonio, I'd like to make a link between this answer and the result of the company. It is true that in this first half of the year, comparing to the first half of last year, we did much better in terms of deliveries, in terms of results. The numbers speak by themselves. But if you look at the guidance for the entire year, you see that, no, as planned, we won't see a huge increase in volumes in the commercial or executive. Yes, we are seeing some growth, moderate growth this year compared to the last year. But the improvements in the results, I mean, either the EBIT coming from almost minus 3% last year to something between 3 and 4% this year, or the free cash flow from minus 900 million last year to something between minus 150 and 0 this year, all this good performance is coming from efficiency gains, pure efficiency gains. We really did a good right size in the organization. We are improving, I mean, a lot of activities on cost reduction, on inventory reduction in all the company, you know, I mean, pushing sales for the future. So again, I mean, from next year on, I mean, we expect that with a stronger growth in the volumes, in all the business units, and with this more efficient and agile company, then we will see much better performance. So that's why our result is coming from this year, from efficiency gains, from some additional sales, of course, but mainly from efficiency gains.
And just to complete in the question for supply chain issue, no? What we are putting the guidance in, what we agreed with our customer for this year. At least for the commercial aviation, having not seen any supplier chain, I would say, problems this year.
Okay. We have several other questions. So the next one is related to margins and free cash flow. So the question is, how do we see margins per business in the long term? And what sort of free cash flow conversion, EBITDA into free cash flow conversion, does Embraer expect? Antonio.
So in regards to margin, we do see, in a long-term perspective, we do see service and support at double digit as it is today. We do see executive in the sense single higher digit, and we are more or less even also today. And we do see the commercial aviation, I would say mid-single digit, close between 3 to 5% in the long term. That's what we see in regards to profitability for the company. And in regards to the conversion from EBITDA to EBITDA, I would prefer to talk, we are seeing today a 50% conversion from EBIT to cash flow. We still needed to improve something, but it's more or less the metrics I'm using internally. We do see today in the long run, 50% of their BIT being converted into cash for the years to come.
So the next question is from JP Morgan, Marcelo Mota. Any update on the sales campaigns for commercial aviation? Could we see more orders during the second quarter?
Yeah, good question. Yes, we have a lot of active sales campaigns ongoing in our commercial aviation. We just announced this sales for SkyWest with 16 aircraft. And yes, we have more to come.
By the way, the SkyWest, it's not part of the backlog in Q2. Now. We are going to book these 70 aircrafts in Q3.
17 aircraft, correct. Thank you, Antonio.
There is a question here from Lucas from Santander, talking about inflation. Can you please comment on how the company is seeing the raw material inflation and how is the company offsetting these impacts?
I would say we do see in our final products inflation. I would say all index we have with our suppliers between 2 to 3% for next year. And to the customer side, we have also the readjustment clause with the index. I would say our takeaway for next year is a balance between what we have internally, inflation, and the pass-through to the customer base. That's more or less what we are seeing, but there is, in some indicators, a spike in deflation index for next year that we are going to discuss with our customer base. Moreover, we did this year, and we are doing this year, and we do have also a lot of design to value activities inside Embraer to reduce the base of the costs we have today, without any impact from any inflation or indicators.
Very good. So now moving to new projects, there is a question from Rio Verde Investimentos. Any update on the partnerships for the turboprop aircraft?
That was a good question. Well, this front is also moving very well, especially with the recent interest of U.S. airlines in that product. So we see that product as a good alternative for that market and other markets as well, and also as a preparation for new technology in the future. So we are very optimistic and working hard to accelerate this partnership front.
Okay, I think we have at least one final question. It's back to commercial aviation. What do you expect? It's from WTS. What do you expect in the mid to long term in commercial aviation as we are seeing recovering demand for flights and also renewal for having more sustainable fleets?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So again, we have, globally, 94% of the Embraer fleet back in the skies. In the US, 97% of the Embraer fleet is flying again. So it shows that the recovery in the domestic market really is coming, and that's why we are working in a lot of sales campaigns in that segment for E1s and E2s as well. So we are working hard to take advantage of this moment. As Antonio mentioned, that we see volumes growing, in 2020, but strongly from 2022, but strongly from 2023 onwards.
I think a final question, it's related to defense. Can you please comment on the expectations for new KC-390 orders?
Well, it's as I said in the opening, we are working in many sales campaigns for import sales campaigns for the KC-390, and also, we are working to develop partnerships that will help us to open new markets for that great aircraft.
I think that's what we had on the Q&A. So I think that concludes the Q&A. I want to thank you all for the questions and the time. So now, Antonio, Francisco, no comments? Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. So thanks for your interest in supporting our company. We are living a really special moment. As I said before, this year is the year of recovery, the year of turnaround, and of Embraer. And the numbers, as I said before, speak by themselves. We expect to have a much better year in 2021 compared to the last year, coming from a very tough crisis, as you know. And we we expect to capture the new Embraer potential to grow from 2022 onwards. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this concludes today's Q&A session, that in turn concludes Embraer's second quarter 2021 financial results presentation. Thank you very much for your participation. Now we'll be taking a quick break, and we will soon be back to start the ESG Flight Plan event, Embraer's journey for a sustainable future. Stay with us. ESG Flight Plan. Embraer's journey for a sustainable future begins now. First of all, I would like to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. Today we are ESG, three letters that say so much: environmental, social, and governance, criteria that set a new way of acting in a fast-changing world. But more than words, they represent a commitment we make today for the future ahead. They also sum up so well Embraer's new moment, when actions are being taken towards carbon emission reduction in a more sustainable, diverse, equal, and profitable company. I'm Felipe Calçada, and some of Embraer's main leaders will be joining us today to share with you what is already being done, what is about to come, and how what is presented here can contribute to our planet needs right now. And just as a teaser, among so many interesting and important news, we'll see firsthand the flight of a new technology developed by Embraer, which represents the first step towards the development of zero carbon emission aircraft. So, stay with us. Both panels will be followed by testimonials from partners and institutions that already see the change and understand the importance of Embraer's goals and achievement. And we would love to hear from you. So please, send us your comments, your questions at any time during our transmission using the chat box. And now, to kick off today's program, we begin with a film made especially for this event. And right after the video comes our first speaker, Francisco Gomes Neto, President and CEO of Embraer, to reaffirm the importance of Embraer's commitment with a more sustainable and responsible future.
Dear Embraer, my name is Victor Medeiros, and I'm one of the millions of Latin American students that dream with a promising future. My father lived as a homeless after he moved from Northeast Brazil to Southeast Brazil looking for opportunities. Our family never had the money to support myself for studies, let alone English courses. But my parents and I have never given up. We had a clear vision that nothing could be accomplished without dedication and high quality education. Somehow, our stories are not really different. You came from humble beginnings and you have also defied the odds. Your story taught me that we achieve our personal best, not in spite of the challenges, but because of them. And today, you will conquer the skies abroad. Just like you, I'm thousands of miles away from home. I recently graduated as a chemical engineering major from University of California, San Diego, and my concentration was in biomedical engineering and nanoengineering. And I'm looking forward to do my medical school as a PhD in the future. It's always good to hear people's stories of perseverance, but right now the world is facing massive challenges of frightening proportions. We're all passengers on this beautiful planet, but if we continue our current route, it won't take us too far. I know that to build a sustainable future has been one of your guiding values. You have always designed the most efficient and environmentally friendly aircraft. There are important advances in new propulsion technologies, and you're moving fast to create new air transport mobility with low emissions. It all makes us proud, but we need more. The planet needs more. We count on you to create new technologies to hit zero emission in the future, to be 100% powered by renewable energy, to make diversity one of your driving forces for technological innovations, to ensure a pleasant journey for everyone, regardless of color, gender. It's a journey that we are all be looking forward to. A different world connected by green energy and by bounds of responsibility, equal opportunities, and respect. It's a huge challenge, no doubt, but you're forged by challenges. And I know you can accelerate many transformations to help the world, the same way you transformed my life and thousands of young people. We look up to you, Embraer.
Thank you all for joining us today. We are excited to announce our ESG goals and outline our plans going forward. This is an essential part of doing business today. Our executive team and all our more than 18,000 employees are committed to driving real change at the company. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges of our time. This week, United Nations published a new and alarming scientific report reinforcing the impact of climate change on the future of our planet and the urgency of governments, companies, and all stakeholders to act now. Air transport is a vital feature of our modern, globalized world, connecting people and businesses across oceans and continents. The benefits of air travel are clear, but this connectivity creates an environmental challenge. At Embraer, we recognize the urgency of the climate change and the role of the industry to tackle the challenge. We all need to make a significant effort to reduce emissions, and the aviation industry must take a leadership role. In that spirit, we are doing our part to act now and commit to moving the aviation sector forward, heading towards a low-carbon economy and a more diverse, inclusive, and ethical society. As part of this commitment to building a sustainable future, Embraer set ambitious new ESG goals. We will further reducing emissions related to our operations and develop more sustainable products with less environmental impact in our value chain. And ESG is at the heart of Embraer's purpose. It is intrinsic part of our values, and that's why we have included ESG as one of the pillars of our strategic plan, aligning business strategy with social responsibility and environmental practices. Acknowledging this is our main challenge for the whole society, we recently joined the Target True Zero initiative launched by the World Economic Forum as part of the commitment to achieve zero-emission aviation goals through new propulsion systems and fuel technologies. It is just an example of a multi-sector initiative, among others, which we expect to make the difference and contribute to a net zero aviation. I'm very pleased to have other representatives from the Embraer leadership team with me to outline more of our commitments and the pathway from now on. Thank you very much, and over to you, Felipe.
Thank you, Francisco. The world is calling us to act right now, to move forward in the right direction. And now to present Embraer's ESG Flight Plan, we invite to the stage Carlos Griner, Vice President of People, ESG, and Communications of Embraer. Welcome, Griner.
Thank you, Felipe, and I'm pleased to share with you our goals and commitments as part of a transition for a low carbon emission economy and a more ethical and inclusive society. Starting with environment, our aim is to decarbonize our direct and indirect operations by focusing mainly on carbon reduction and efficiency. Our inventory shows that 75% of Embraer's footprint in Scope 1 and 2, which includes our own operations and energy consumption, are associated with the jet fuel and use of energy. That's why we are prioritizing our efforts in these matters. Aligned with Paris Agreement goal to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we are committing to carbon neutral operations by 2040, 50% reduction in net carbon emissions by 2040 from a 2018 baseline. Begin using sustainable aviation fuel SAF by 2021 and aim for at least 25% by 2040. 100% energy from renewable sources by 2030 and step goal of 50% renewable energy by 2025. Offsetting any residual emission that will not be reduced through efficiency projects available, alternative energy, or advancing technology. Carbon neutral growth from 2022. Commit to capping carbon emissions to 2021 levels while growing operations. Regarding Scope 3, net zero aviation by 2050 will be achieved with our contribution in developing products, services, and new technologies such as electrification, hybrid, and biofuels, including SAF. Working together with suppliers to make our current aircraft compatible with the use of 100% SAF. Actively working with the supply chain to expand the global SAF production scale. Continuously improving the efficiency of our current aircraft until the certification of new technologies. Launch of zero-emission eVTOL aircraft by 2026. Regarding the social pillar, our commitments are concentrated in two areas: education and diversity. Our objectives are foster a workplace that is 100% inclusive and safe for all, increase diversity and representation in hiring, retaining, and promoting talent across all levels of our organization. Keep leveraging education as a competitive advantage, create access in local communities through key social programming and educational initiatives that impact society while attracting local talent. And the targets include 100% of leadership positions continuously trained on diversity and inclusion by 2021 and all employees by 2022. 50% diverse hires in all new entry-level employees programs by 2025. 25% of women in the in-company Master of Science in Aeronautical Engineering program by 2025. 20% of women in senior leadership position by 2025. Bring more than 80% of the students from Embraer high schools to public universities or scholarships. Launch a new program focused on qualifying 1,500 people from underrepresented groups in technology called social tech by 2025. Having a workforce and culture is predicated on good governance. Regarding governance, Embraer is already recognized for practicing the highest global standard of governance, and for this very reason, we know that it is necessary to pursue continuous improvement in this area. We are committing to robust ethics and compliance program fully aligned with global standards, maintain highest international standard of governance, and maintain the high safety standard of our products and full alignment with international requirements. We are aware of the challenges, and we are committed to advancing the environmental and social agenda, promoting a more ethical and fairer society. These are demands of our stakeholders and core elements of our purpose. Thank you very much.
At Natixis, we're of the view that sustainable finance will fail in its mission if it continues to leave high-emitting sectors on the sidelines. Clearly, aviation is one of those high-emitting, hard-to-abate sectors. As of today, the aviation industry is not on track to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. The pathway to net zero is unclear, and significant investment in R&D is required. Such a significant transformation will require collaboration from all parts of the value chain: airline operators, original equipment manufacturers such as Embraer, parts manufacturers, sustainable aviation fuel suppliers, researchers, and more, including finance. OEMs such as Embraer have a critical role to play if the aviation industry is going to be able to find a path to material decarbonisation and net zero. Embraer's commitment to change how the industry works through innovative engineering, energy efficiency, and focusing on multiple alternative energy technologies, whether it's energy efficiency, SAF, hybrid, electrification, and green hydrogen, they're the keys to unlocking a pathway to a sustainable future. Embraer's recent announcement is an important step in the right direction, and we look forward to accompanying them on this journey.
In a world more connected than ever, clients can access the history of a company, their production methods, their supply chain, diversity and equality concerns. To meet the expectations of this new world, having a strong and yet sensible governance is essential. To talk about that and on how Embraer's high governance standards are key to support the sustainable growth of the business, we invite to the stage Fabiana Lichziner, Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Chief Compliance Officer of Embraer. Fabiana, take it away.
Thank you, Felipe. I am excited to be here today to discuss governance and outline our goals. Everything about governance starts with a strong board. Our board is very well engaged and has strong ESG experience to support us in fulfilling our goals and initiatives and guide us through this journey. Embraer is a public company with shares listed in São Paulo on the new market, which has the highest level of corporate governance in Brazil, and in New York on the New York Stock Exchange. We meet the Brazilian highest and US and international governance standards. The board has an ESG committee that works across all of our key stakeholder audiences to develop such strategies, define key performance indicators, and establish targets that are integrated into our corporate sustainability plan. Embraer Ethics and Compliance Program is supervised by the Board of Directors and its Audit, Risk and Ethics Committee, ensuring the department's independence. Reporting directly to the board's Audit, Risks and Ethics Committee, the Chief Compliance Officer, CCO, is responsible for developing policies, procedures, and controls, and guiding the compliance culture at all levels of the organization. Embraer seeks to ensure the highest level of corporate integrity and ethics in its activities. We have the highest ethical standards and zero-tolerance policy for violations. We have established a robust and comprehensive compliance program to design, guide, promote, and support all policies, procedures, and activities necessary to ensure the company meets the highest ethical standards. We also promote a culture of ethics and integrity, based on our core values and our code of ethics and conduct. We support the businesses in risk management, identification of red flags, process improvements, and incident investigation. We also consolidate all of our compliance initiatives, including anti-corruption, export control, and our helpline channel, our whistleblower channel, which is also available 24/7 and guaranteed anonymity in 100% of our reports. We also take a very strong influence of our tune at the top. Compliance is a topic on top of leadership's agenda, as we believe that the example comes from the leadership. The subject is on the monthly agenda of board and management meetings, with studies of cases for training purposes. We also implemented the possibility to reduce leadership's variable compensation in up to 20% if they do not meet targets to promote and deploy compliance within their respective organizations. Regarding flight safety, we have a policy that permeates the entire company and incentivizes a continuous and rigorous commitment on the part of employees and leaders to building ever safer aircraft that exceed national and international certification standards. The company's flight safety policy takes a proactive approach to the entire product life cycle to ensure safety norms are met and exceed the statutory minimum. And as Greener mentioned, our employees, customers, partners, investors, and all of our key stakeholders want to know that they are working with an ethical company. Thank you, and let's see another testimonial from one of our dearest customers.
Well, the ESGs are incredibly important for every industry, but I would say even more so for the aviation industry. It concerns about targets on the field of environment, social and governance. Aviation industry by nature is bringing a lot of economic value and economic prosperity to societies. But we cannot just look at the economic value. We should have a more holistic view and a total view. I think as an aviation industry, you've done already a lot in the field of environment, and we should continue to do so. But by now, fully embracing the ESGs, we're not only focusing on economic value, but also on environmental issues, social and governance issues. Therefore, incredibly important. Well, I do applaud the initiative which Embraer has taken already and basically is reconfirming and stepping up the efforts on this field of ESGs. As I mentioned, the ESGs are incredibly important for the aviation industry as a whole, and therefore Embraer, as such an important and relevant player in the industry, is taking a leading role in that, and that is very important for all of us. KLM is a happy customer of Embraer, and therefore we do applaud the initiatives and the actions taken by Embraer, and we see it basically back in the aircraft we do operate.
We began with the last letter of ESG, G for governance. But everything today is about moving forward, right? After all, what's the point in developing high-end technologies, flying cars, and some of the most advanced aircraft ever seen, if all this knowledge and accomplishment cannot be shared with the society around us? So now we get to the letter S, social. And Embraer has a big legacy when it comes to that. The company has a long history of successful initiatives in the social area, a history that is about to be expanded. Now, Carlos Greener is back, and he'll tell us how the company is paving a solid path towards social transformation. Greener?
Thanks again, Felipe. Our social approach is closely linked to the creation of Embraer itself, when the vision was, before manufacturing aircraft, we would need to produce great aeronautical engineers. We maintain the early days spirits and have developed an ecosystem that generates and disseminates knowledge, promotes scientific development, and impact society in a very positive way. One great example of this is the Master Aeronautical Engineering created 20 years ago in partnership with Technological Institute of Aeronautics, the backbone of our talent development in engineering. The program attracts engineers from all over the country in Brazil for more than 100 universities using learning by doing methodology. Altogether, more than 1,600 engineers have graduated, contributing to promote a virtual cycle in the regional economy. Another long-term and successful program is the Embraer Institute, established in 2001, focused on high-quality education for low-income high school students. This initiative already impacted more than 4,000 students. The high schools are focused on equipping students with technical, social, environmental, and entrepreneurship skills. In the US, the Embraer Foundation offers community engagement such as volunteering and grants program, as well as educational projects and opportunities that aim to enhance social and environmental development among underserved students. Another social project focused on professional qualification for low-income young people called Formar e Aprendiz engage Embraer volunteers to make the factory an environment for learning and developing working skills and citizenship. Regarding diversity, Embraer believes in the importance of a diverse and inclusive environment that respects the uniqueness of all people. We encourage the creation of affinity groups to discuss the various themes of diversity in the company, encouraging this organic movement by the employees themselves to create a more inclusive environment. Created organically, the largest affinity group in the company is called Embraer, which the main purpose of this is to discuss and drive actions for our diversity and inclusion. This initiative has helped Embraer welcoming groups focused on women, ethnics, LGBTQIA+, and people with disabilities. Almost 1,000 employees currently participate in Embraer. Therefore, fostering a comprehensive social approach which connects education, diversity, and inclusion, we strive for building a more sustainable, innovative, and inclusive company and society. Thank you very much, and let's watch now the testimonial from another important Embraer partner.
The future of business aviation depends on us being constantly ever more safe, secure, and sustainable. And in all three of those areas, Embraer is an undisputed industry leader. We're looking forward to a future where we can get people where they need to be, when they need to be there, safely, securely, sustainably. And we're grateful that Embraer is helping lead the way.
So now our flight plan gets to the last panel of the day, E for environmental. I just want to remind you that you can send us your questions at any time during the event through the chat box, and to present Embraer's strategy on how to build a more sustainable future based on new technologies and new projects that will help lowering emissions and our footprint on Earth. Please give a warm welcome to Luis Carlos Afonso, Senior Vice President of Engineering, Technology, and Corporate Strategy of Embraer.
Thank you, Felipe. I would like to once again thank you all for joining us today. At Embraer, we are very excited to be part of the global efforts towards sustainability and to help create a zero-carbon world. Since its early days, aviation has been one of the most innovative industries. Airplanes became 50% more fuel efficient in the last 50 years, with the same proportion of emissions reduction. In the long run, air travel has never been so popular, connecting people and promoting worldwide economic growth. With the projected traffic growth, though, even considering future efficiency gains like the ones observed in the past decades, aviation emissions would at least double by 2050 if no further actions were taken. This is not acceptable. That is why, as an industry, we established ourselves aggressive CO2 emissions reduction targets by 2050. This will only be possible through a concerted effort of several stakeholders, a great deal of research and innovation in several fields, as well as new public policies and regulations. As I said, at Embraer, we want to be part of these efforts, and we are very excited about the new opportunities that will unfold in this future sustainable world. For airplane manufacturers like us, most of the emissions are by far those of Scope 3, the ones generated by the utilization of our customers' aircrafts. And I will devote a good part of this presentation to it. But before that, let me start by talking about Scope 1, the CO2 generated by our own Embraer operations. This is the size of our challenge. 60%, more than 60% of our Scope 1 emissions are associated with the consumption of jet fuel, linked to flight tests, production flights, and ferry flights. And our plan is, first, increase the use of sustainable aviation fuel in our operations. Optimize our grounds and flight test profiles and efficiency. And last, benefit of the more sustainable future products we will be flying. In this sense, in the third quarter of this year, we began using SAF in Melbourne, Florida, the headquarters of Embraer Executive Jets. We will increase the use of SAF throughout next years. And we set a goal of using at least 25% of SAF in all our operations by 2040. The use of SAF, together with the use of renewable energy in our sites, will be the main levers that will allow us to meet the goal of carbon neutral operations, as we have announced today. But let me now go back to Scope 3, the emissions associated to the operation of the Embraer manufactured aircraft by our customers. Today, for the first time, we announce our vision and commitments, which is develop new solutions to net zero carbon emissions in aviation by 2050. We believe this is possible, and we intend to focus in two fronts to make it happen. First, bringing best-in-class sustainable aircraft to market at an accelerated pace to help change the efficiency and emissions profile of the existing fleets. And second, collaborating with all aviation industry stakeholders to develop and advocate for innovation and public policies towards a sustainable ecosystem, including availability of SAFs electrification, hydrogen, efficient operations, among others. I will walk you through some of these initiatives in the next slides. Starting with airframe and engines. In the efforts to reduce fuel consumption, over 50 years at Embraer, we have been developing tools and technologies that allow us to produce ever more efficient aircraft and therefore generate less emissions. We designed the second generation of our E-jets, offering a 25% reduction in fuel consumption and CO2 emissions per seat mile, and 30% reduction in noise. Thanks to new engines and airframe efficiency, with new high aspect ratio wings, the E2 is the most efficient and quietest narrow-body currently in operation, greatly contributing to sustainability. Investments in efficiency by us and by our industry partners and overall will be an important contributor to a sustainable future. Let's move on to SAF. SAF will play a key role in creation of a carbon-neutral aviation industry. Embraer has been working, as you can see in these slides, in the last 20 years on biofuel, starting with the ethanol-powered Ipanema, certified in 2004, as well as several experiments with SAFs, up to 50% blends, in commercial and executive aviation, including regular commercial flights with passengers. And we will continue to collaborate with SAF suppliers, engine and system manufacturers. SAF is drop-in, meaning that it is possible to use SAF in the existing gas turbine fleet without any hardware modifications. The penetration can be much faster than the introduction of new aircraft types. However, the current SAF adoption is still very low. Just 0.1% of all fuel used is SAF. Limiting barriers are blend compatibility, production at scale, logistics, and costs. Public policies and regulations will be paramount to develop SAF technologies and its supply chain. So Embraer will continuously collaborate with SAF development and promote actions to significantly increase SAF utilization. Our aspiration is by 2030, our aircrafts will be compatible with use of 100% SAF. And we are working with other important stakeholders to make it viable. Talking about infrastructure, important fuel savings opportunities come from optimized operations, such as direct routings, continuous descents, optimal altitude and speeds, and infrastructure, such as reduced taxi times. According to the ICAO, improvements in air traffic management and other operational procedures could reduce aviation fuel burn from 8 to 18%. We collaborate in these efforts through our subsidiary ATAC, which develops several cutting-edge solutions for efficient air traffic management. Let's talk about hydrogen. More recently, hydrogen has emerged as a potential aviation fuel of the future, with fuel cells and direct combustion options offering great potential. Embraer is currently studying technical, economic, and supply chain aspects of integrating hydrogen power plant systems into an airframe. I would like also to announce that our roadmap considers a hydrogen-powered test vehicle first flight by 2025. And last but not least, let's talk about electrification. Electric propulsion is already a reality for aeronautical use, which represents a big step forwards in the transition to a zero-emissions aviation, especially for small and medium aircraft. Electrification also allows aircraft to apply distributed propulsion, radically changing the airframe design and propulsion integration. In recent years, Embraer has invested in R&D of electric and hybrid electric propulsion systems, and today we would like to share at first hand with this audience a significant milestone towards a carbon neutral future. It is a pleasure to show you now the first flight of Embraer's electric demonstrator, which was performed a few days ago. Let's look at it. First flights are always an emotional moment in our industry. These test beds will help develop knowledge about batteries, electric motors, thermal management, electric control systems, high voltage handling, safety of flight. This was, as you saw, a manned flight that will then be applied to our future products. So, I hope I could give you an idea of some of the several technologies and paths being explored towards a sustainable aviation future. There are many challenges ahead, and to be successful, a concerted effort will be required. But I'm sure we will get there. We believe the answer will be a combination of these efforts and solutions, each one being optimized to certain applications, missions, aircraft size, and range. And as I said, we believe the sustainability imperative associated with emerging technologies, as we've seen, will create new opportunities. Over time, the market has demanded ever bigger airplanes, seeking lower seat mile costs. This is perfectly exemplified by the historic evolution of Embraer product portfolio in commercial aviation. From the 90-seat Bandeirante in the early 70s to the 146-seat E2 today. The smaller aircraft have disappeared, though. The routes were concentrated to bigger cities, leaving many communities underserved. But we believe this is about to change. Many of the new technologies, like electric and hybrid electric propulsion, will first be available at the lower end of the market, and new, efficient, and sustainable applications and markets will appear. Urban air mobility is the perfect example at the very low ends, being all electric and carbon neutral, and addressing an important pain point of several communities around the globe. If we go up the ladder to slightly bigger airplanes, new solutions will allow the reappearance of commuter and regional flights, allowing airlines to stay cost competitive and profitable while meeting the sustainability challenges. We believe at Embraer we are very well positioned for these opportunities, since this is the market segment we have been operating in the last 50 years. For the bigger airplanes like the E-jets and on, SAF and hydrogen will likely be the most efficient solutions. So, let's have a look at a few ideas we are considering. After the appearance of the regional jets, turboprops have lost their appeal. Passengers still see today, they see them as cramped, not possessing enough overhead bin space, noisy and old stack. Our proposal here, as you can see, this beautiful airplane, is to offer a high-tech 70 to 90 seat turboprop with the same cross-section of the E-jets. Very comfortable, no middle seats, and spacious overhead bins. The rear fuselage mounted engines will provide a quiet cabin and allow jet bridge compatibility. With these game-changing characteristics, this turboprop will seamlessly replace the current 50-seat regional jets in very important markets. And all this with the turboprop fuel efficiency, which is around 20% better than that of jets, and 20% less emissions, for sure. So, even with the current propulsion technology, this innovative design will provide significant and sustainable gains. And the rear-mounted configuration is ideal to evolve with new, greener technologies and propulsion solutions when they become available. Later this year, our commercial aviation teams will provide further details about these very innovative concepts. Let's now talk about the Stout. Let's see our Stout project. Yes. This is the configuration we are proposing to the Brazilian Air Force for a short takeoff utility transports, which is the acronym of Stout. As you can see, this is a hybrid electric configuration, leveraging the distributed propulsion concepts enabled by electrification and providing increased safety, better performance, and lower emissions. This platform is being defined for dual use, so civilian applications are also being explored. Let's now talk about our EVE project. This is our electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, our eVTOL. With EVE, we are reimagining the future of urban air mobility. We will improve the lives of millions of people in congested areas around the globe with a 100% electric and quiet solution. It goes without saying, this is a zero emissions solution. This vehicle is being designed with distributed propulsion, fly-by-wire technology, very high safety standards, and high utilization in mind. In collaboration with our subsidiary ATEC, Eve will develop the air traffic control system dedicated to urban air mobility, collaborating to create an efficient UAM ecosystem. Once again, given our end-to-end proven track records in aviation, we believe we are very well positioned to be among the few that will succeed in this market. In conclusion, I would like to say that these are indeed very exciting times, and we are absolutely committed to play our part in the creation of a sustainable future. Thank you once again to everyone who joined us today. And stay tuned, as in the coming months, we will be presenting more news regarding low and zero emission aircraft. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. We got to the end of our event, and now we'll be heading to our press conference. But before we do so, I just want to take a brief moment to thank everyone who took their time to send their testimonials to us. They reassure that a plan for the future that takes ESG seriously and with responsibility is the right plan. I would like to thank our speakers for their presence, and on behalf of Embraer, I just want to thank you all for joining us. It is time for a better future. Let's build it together. We'll be taking a quick break, only 5 minutes, and we'll be back for our press conference. Members of the press, please stay tuned. I encourage you all to answer a quick survey that will be on your screen during the break. And don't forget to send your questions through the chat tool. We'll be right back. We are beginning our press conference. And to answer the questions sent by you during our program, I have Embraer leadership team here with me. Thank you for being here. And now, our first question goes to Griner. Can you describe Embraer's carbon emission profile? What are Embraer's main sources of emissions?
Okay, as Luis Carlos mentioned, about almost 70% of our carbon emissions in scope 1 comes from jet fuels, and this is basically to ensure our product safety. So this is very important. If we put all the scope 1 and 2 together, this jet fuel still 38% of our emissions, and scope for energy purchase is about 37%, and all the other source of energies are about 25%. So that's why we are putting so much effort on SAF, both on production but to utilization in the near future, and our goal is to use 100% of renewable source.
Perfect. Thank you. And now I'd like to speak to Luis Carlos. We received several questions about new technologies, and we will consolidate them here. Many questions about the challenges for SAF, hydrogen, and electrification. Which of them do you believe will play the key role?
It's a very good question. I believe that the solution will really be a combination of all these technologies that are emerging. So there will not be one single technology, one single solution or company. that will solve. Concerted efforts from all many stakeholders and several technologies will be required. Electric, hybrid electric, maybe for smaller and medium airplanes as you go up the ladder, then SAFs and hydrogen. If I had to single out one of these technologies, I would mention SAF, because SAF is the only one which is dropping, meaning that once we have the ability to have 100% SAF flying on the airplanes, and when we have scale and the right price point, the entire fleet will be able to operate with SAF. So this is the one that would have the quickest result, but of course the challenge is availability, logistics, and the price point.
Okay, and now Francisco, one question for you. Why focus on ESG at this moment of the company?
Well, the climate change, as I said before, the climate change is one of the greatest challenges we have. So the temperature of the planet continues to grow, as well as our society still faces huge social differences. And we believe the companies have play a key role to tackle those challenges. At Embraer, we have been doing a lot in product efficiency, as Luis showed to us before, also in social programs and governance. But we recognize that it's time to be bold. We have to move to a new level. That's why at Embraer, we are committing to new ESG goals, to a low carbon economy, and also, to a more inclusive society.
Perfect, thank you. And now another question for Greener. Could you explain how to achieve 100% renewable sources in electricity globally by 2030?
Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, 50% of our energy is already renewable. And the main reason is the Brazilian energy matrix. We are pushing the Brazil to be 100% renewable, and that will mean 65% of our energy utilization. And outside Brazil, we have some choices, some alternatives to solar and to wind, both purchasing or self-production. So that's our goal.
Perfect. Another question to Luis Carlos now. Regarding new products, you mentioned a new turboprop. How the new plane is connected to the strategy of low carbon emissions?
Thank you. Yes, we are studying turboprop. It's good to have the opportunity to mention that this is not yet a launched project. We are still studying, talking to potential partners and customers. And a turboprop would play an important role in our neutral carbon strategy, because turboprops are much more efficient than jets in terms of fuel consumption and emissions. The propulsive efficiency of a turboprop, because of the big propeller, is bigger than that of a jet. And that's why we are proposing a turboprop with innovative characteristics that will be able to replace jets. Current TPs are not popular, are not comfortable, they are too noisy, they vibrate, and our proposal will be a jet-like TP, with the only difference that it will use from 20 and maybe in short routes even 40% less fuel and emit up to 40% less carbon. So it will be an important airplane. If we come to launch it, hopefully we will do.
And now, Greener. The company launched a new social program. What do you expect will be the real impact on society and minority groups?
Yeah, so in fact, there is a huge gap between the demands of technology and the talent qualification in these fields. So if you think about the underserved population, this gap, because of social and economic reasons, this gap is even higher. And our idea on the social tech initiative is to build a bridge and prepare those talent, especially people from underserved, to be qualified, and also for our needs, but also to help those youth, especially, to have a better career opportunity. So the idea is to have a combination to develop talent for our own needs, but also to the society to provide a good career opportunity. So at the end, we believe that we can build this bridge and close this gap, while offering more opportunities in the society.
And now let's move on to the last question of the day, to Francisco. Can you please provide more details on how Embraer thinks it can double its size, and what timeline are you talking about, and how is that possible?
Good question. I was expecting this question, actually. So, well, I mean, our guidance this year, for example, shows in the commercial aviation deliver between 45 and 50 aircraft. So, in a medium term, we believe we will be able, with the market recovery, to be back to pre-pandemic levels. This is more or less the double of this number. So going from 45 to 50 to something closer to 100. In the executive jets, so our guidance this year is between 90 and 95. We believe in the medium term we will be over 120 aircraft a year. We also expect a stronger growth in our service area by, for example, due to the GTF maintenance contract we have in Nogma in Portugal, that it's a 20-year contract that we allow us to almost triple the revenue of that company in Portugal, with a very important impact for Embraer as well. Also, we are planning to capture more market share within the Embraer fleet for our service area, and also a stronger growth in the agnostic area. So with all this combination, we believe we have potential to almost double the revenue in the medium term. That's the rationale behind this, and it's feasible. It shows in our new Fit for Growth strategy plan.
Thank you, Francisco. Okay, everyone, that's all for today. Thank you so much for your audience, and many thanks to Embraer leaders for being here, and I hope we can meet again in the near future for another special moment like this. In the meantime, stay safe. Goodbye, and see you soon. Thank you.